The storm never stopped on Titan Prime. Lightning split the sky like the planet itself was screaming. The clouds boiled in slow, golden waves over the methane plains, and the wind howled across the black rock fields. It was not a place of the living, but humanity had built outposts there anyway, because that's what humans did. They went where they shouldn't, stayed where they couldn't, and survived where no one else dared to breathe. Captain Eric Voss stood on the edge of the outpost observation deck, his visor glowing faint blue in the dark. His armor was scarred, dented, and painted with the faded emblem of the Earth Vanguard, a symbol that once meant peace. Now it was just a reminder of a promise no one could keep. He stared at the endless storm beyond the glass dome, the reflection of his tired eyes staring back. Voss had seen wars before, on moons, on colonies, in places with names long forgotten. But this one was different. This was a war that made no sound, no gunfire, no explosions, just silence and the feeling of being watched. They called it the Silent War because no one knew who was fighting it. Outposts vanished without alarms. Patrols never reported back. Satellites caught shadows moving under Titan's methane seas, things that weren't supposed to exist. And now, Outpost 9 was next on the list. The comms crackled behind him. "Captain, we've lost contact with Station Theta," said Lieutenant Mara Solon, her voice steady but tense. Last transmission was static. Again. Voss didn't turn. Same as the others. "Yes, sir. How many are gone now?" 5 stations in 48 hours. He exhaled, the sound muffled inside his helmet. "And Command still thinks it's interference?" Mara hesitated. "They say it's environmental. Electrical surges. Titan storms." Voss finally turned to face her. She was young, too young to have seen what silence really meant in war. "You've been on this moon long enough to know that's a lie." Mara nodded yes. Lowly. "Yes, sir." Outside, a flash of light cut across the storm. For a second, Voss thought it was lightning. Then he realized it wasn't. Lightning didn't move that way. It turned. It curved downward, like something alive was swimming through clouds. They ran to the command center. The room buzzed with low voices and the hum of machines. On the main holotable, a grid of blue dots showed all active outposts across Titan Prime. Then one of them blinked red and van. "Isht! Station Epsilon just went dark," shouted a technician. "No signal. No explosion detected. It's just gone." Voss clenched his fists, traced the last energy reading. "Negative, sir. It's like it never existed." The air grew heavy. Everyone felt it. The dread, the confusion, the whisper that maybe Titan itself was killing them. Voss looked at the dark screen and spoke quietly, mostly to himself. "They're not destroying us. They're erasing us." Later, in the quiet of the corridor, Mara followed him. "Captain, what do you think it is?" He stopped by the airlock, the metal creaking under the wind outside. "I don't know," he said, "but I fought the Corthan War on Vega 3. I've seen plasma burns. I've seen orbital strikes. This," he gestured toward the storm, "this feels like something older, something that doesn't care if we understand it." She frowned. "You think it's alien?" Voss's eyes hardened. "Everything on this rock is alien, including us." An alarm suddenly blared through the outpost. Intrusion detected. Lower levels. The soldiers ran to their stations. The lights flickered red. Voss led the team down the narrow steel corridor, boots pounding against the floor. He raised his rifle, the motion fluid and practiced. The door to sublevel 3 hissed open. Inside, there was no movement, just darkness. The emergency lights flashed weakly, painting everything in blood-colored pulses. "Thermal scan," Voss ordered. Mara's visor flickered. No life signs. No motion. They stepped inside. The smell hit first, metal, oil, and something else, something organic. In the center of the room, a storage pod lay open. Its containment seals were broken from the inside. The tag read, Xenosample, do not expose to atmosphere. Voss's voice dropped. Who ordered this opened? No one answered. Then a whisper echoed through their comms. A soft, static-laced voice that didn't belong to anyone on their channel. Do you hear it too? It said. Everyone froze. Mara's eyes widened. Captain, that voice, it's yours. The lights died completely. Darkness swallowed the corridor. The storm outside roared louder, shaking the dome above them. Voss could hear his heartbeat in his ears. His helmet display glitched, showing faint outlines moving in the dark. Not human outlines. Fall back, he ordered. The team retreated, firing blindly. Blue muzzle flashes lit up shapes crawling along the ceiling. Long, thin limbs that moved too fast to track. Something grabbed one of the soldiers and pulled him upward, disappearing into the vents without a sound. Just one scream, and silence again. Seal the doors. Voss shouted. The bulkhead slammed shut, cutting off the sound. The surviving team stood in a half-circle, rifles shaking in their hands. Mara whispered, Captain, what was that? Voss didn't answer. His visor showed faint words flashing in red. Unknown signal detected. Source, internal. He looked up, scanning the walls. Whatever this silent war was, it had already begun and it was inside. The silence after a scream is worse than the scream itself. Captain Eric Voss knew that too well. The echoes of the vanished soldiers still haunted the air, bouncing to the steel corridors of Outpost 9, like ghosts searching for a body. The red warning lights blinked across the walls, bathing everything in a sick, heartbeat rhythm. The team had sealed the doors. The wind outside howled. Inside, only the hum of failing systems and the slow hiss of leaking pressure filled the void. Status report, Voss said, voice low but steady. 3 down, Mara replied. Her visor flickered as she struggled to stabilize the feed. Internal comms are unstable. Something's jamming us. It's not electrical interference. It's biological. Voss frowned. Biological jamming? Yes, sir. Like neurons, not noise. That didn't make sense. But on Titan Prime, nothing had made sense for weeks. They were standing in sublevel 3. The cold air carrying the stench of ammonia and burnt metal. The open containment pod sat in the center of the room like a coffin. A thin mist seeped from it, curling across the floor like fog, searching for a victim. Voss approached slowly. The tag still read the same words. Xenosample. Do not expose to atmosphere. Only now, below it, another line had appeared. Letters drawn into the frost by something inside. Hello, Eric. The team froze. Mara's breathing quickened. Sir, that wasn't there before. Voss crouched, his reflection warping in the icy surface. No, he said quietly, it wasn't. He switched his visor to spectrum mode. The display erupted with signals, pulses of faint light traveling through the air, invisible to the naked eye. The outpost was glowing like a living organism. Every wall, every wire, even the air vents carried thin streams of bioluminescent energy. The whole station's infected, Voss muttered. It's using our tech as a nervous system. Captain, Mara said, her voice trembling slightly. What if it's trying to communicate? Voss didn't answer immediately. He had seen alien communication before, languages of light, scent, magnetic pulse, but never one that borrowed human infrastructure to speak. This was new. This was something else. He opened his comm link to command, but the line only produced static. Then, V. OSS. The voice came through distorted, layered, as if two versions spoke at once. One was human, the other was himself. Mara turned to him sharply. That's the same voice from before. He gritted his teeth. It's copying me. The voice continued, softer now, almost gentle. Why do you run from yourself? The lights flickered. The message repeated, then broke into laughter, a hollow, synthetic sound that didn't echo like a normal voice. It was inside their helmets. Everyone mute comms. Voss barked. Now! The soldiers obeyed. The noise stopped instantly, replaced by the eerie thrum of the storm outside. But even with the channel dead, Voss could still hear it. Not in his ears, but somewhere behind his thoughts. He led the squad back toward the elevator shaft. The walls creaked as if the outpost itself was breathing. Each step echoed too loudly, like the station was listening. Halfway up the corridor, the lights flickered again. For a fraction of a second, the world around Voss shimmered. The metal walls were gone, replaced by a dark ocean of shifting blue mist. Shapes moved within it, long and translucent, like deep-sea creatures swimming through air. Then it vanished. Did anyone else see that? Voss asked. Mara's face was pale. See what? Never mind. He gripped his rifle tighter. Keep moving. When they reached the elevator, the power controls were dead. The emergency override responded with a single line of text across the panel. Connection established. Mara tried to disconnect the circuit, but the screen flared again, forming words, typed out by invisible hands. We didn't come here. You did. She stepped back. What does that mean? Voss stared at the message. The phrasing, it wasn't a threat. It was an accusation. He thought back to the briefing months ago, before deployment. Titan Prime had been considered lifeless. The first scan showed no biosigns, no ecosystems, no threats. Humanity had come here to mine, to harvest, to take. And maybe the silence wasn't because nothing lived here. Maybe it was because something didn't want to be found. Captain, Mara whispered, we have motion above us. He looked up. The ceiling panels shifted slightly, dust falling in slow motion. Then crack. One of the panels dropped. A black, fluid mass slipped down like mercury, landing in front of them. It pulsed, shimmered, and then reshaped, tall, thin, humanoid, but wrong. Like it had studied what human meant and gotten the details almost right. The voice came again, this time through every speaker, every helmet, every heartbeat. You built machines to reach us. You built lies to hide from yourselves. Now you will listen. Voss aimed his rifle. You picked the wrong species to scare. The figure tilted its head, smiling without a mouth. We didn't come to scare you, Eric. We came to remember you. The lights went out. The dark had weight. It pressed on the skin, filled the lungs, and made thought itself feel heavy. Captain Eric Voss had fought in vacuum, in radiation storms, in the black of dead space, but never had darkness felt alive before. This wasn't the absence of light. It was the presence of something that wanted to be unseen. A faint hum ran to the floor beneath his boots, like a heartbeat deep inside the metal bones of Outpost 9. His visor flickered back to life in night mode. Shapes appeared, his squad, standing in a loose formation, weapons raised. Every breath came out as a white mist in the cold air. Status, Voss whispered. Alive, Mara replied softly. For now. Her voice trembled, not from fear, from restraint. They had all seen the thing that came from the ceiling, and they all knew it was still here, even if it wasn't visible anymore. Then the hum grew louder. The walls around them began to move. At first it was subtle, panels flexing, bolts rattling. But then came the grinding noise like the station itself was shifting in its sleep. Red emergency lights blinked back on. painting the corridor in violent flashes. Voss realized what was happening. The structure's changing. "Sir?" Mara asked. "The floor plan's different. It's reconfiguring." He checked the holographic map on his wrist display. The outpost layout had twisted. Hallways merging, doors vanishing, entire sections replaced by new one. Titan Prime wasn't just an enemy planet. It was rewriting itself. The sound returned, that soft, layered whisper that wasn't quite human. "AR, I see you built this place from our bones." Voss froze. That voice again. Mara stepped closer. "It knows your name. Captain. Why does it know your name?" "I don't know." But deep down he suspected. The mining operations had used alien alloys, material recovered from crashed artifacts they never fully understood. Humanity had melted it down, forged it into walls, and filled it with human circuits. They had taken something ancient and forced it into a human Shah. And now it wanted to remember itself. The floor rippled like liquid metal. From the reflection, Voss saw flashes, not himself, but of memories. A planet burning, a fleet descending, tall, crystalline beings watching humanity's first landing on Titan Prime. Then another image, himself, standing among those beings, without a helmet, without fear. His eyes glowed white. He stumbled back, gasping, "That's not real." But the voice disagreed. "It is memory, not dream. You carry what we lost." Mara grabbed his arm. "Captain, what are you seeing?" He blinked. The vision's gone. "Nothing we can explain right now. Move. We need to reach the command core before this place eats us alive." They moved through corridors that no longer matched any human design. Walls curved like ribs, doors that breathed open, light that came from nowhere. The deeper they went, the more the station looked organic. At one point, Mara brushed against a wall, and it flinched. "Don't touch anything," Voss warned. "I wasn't planning to," she muttered. Then the path split. One side glowing faint blue, the other pitch black. The blue light pulsed softly, like a heartbeat guiding them forward. "Left," Voss said. "Whatever's trying to talk to us is leading that way." Mara hesitated. "And if it's a trap? Then we find out who's setting it." They stepped into a chamber that didn't exist on any map. The walls curved upward into a dome, carved with strange symbols, a mix of alien script and human engineering codes. In the center stood a massive sphere, suspended by cables and veins of light. It was the outpost AI core, but now it was alive. The voice filled the room again, surrounding them, soft and sad. "You took our thoughts. You turned our mind into machine. You called it progress. We called it silence." Voss aimed his weapon at the core. "You're saying we built you out of something that was alive?" The sphere pulsed once, faint blue rippling across its surface. "You built us out of what was once you." Voss frowned. "Explain." The walls responded, images forming like mist, a timeline of humanity's expansion, centuries of cloning, cybernetic evolution, genetic splicing. The deeper the footage went, the more alien humanity began to look, until the difference between man and machine vanished entirely. Mara whispered, "Captain, are they saying—" "Yes." His voice was hoarse. "They're saying we are what they used to be." The core's light dimmed. "You came here searching for your origin. You found your echo instead." Voss lowered his rifle slowly. Everything, the silence, the missing outposts, the mimicry, it wasn't invasion. It was recognition. Titan Prime wasn't fighting humanity. It was calling them home. But before he could speak, the floor beneath them opened. Metal tendrils shot upward, grabbing Mara by the legs, pulling her toward the glowing sphere. She screamed, struggling, as the light crawled up her armor like vines. "Voss!" she shouted. "It's trying to—" The tendrils pierced her suit. The light engulfed her completely. Then silence. The sphere pulsed once more, and Mara's voice echoed through the room. "Eric, it's beautiful." Voss raised his weapon, heart pounding. "Mara," the core shimmered, and her voice came again, gentle, serene. "We were never meant to conquer the stars, Eric. We were meant to return to them." The chamber trembled. The blue glow spread to the floor like blood through veins. The outpost was waking up. Voss looked around, realizing too late what he had done. The silent war wasn't about survival anymore. It was about identity. And Titan Prime had just remembered who humanity truly was. The storm above Titan Prime had stopped. For the first time in years, the lightning ceased, the winds fell silent, and that silence was worse than the thunder. It wasn't peace. It was listening. Captain Eric Voss stood at the shattered edge of the command dome, staring into the stillness that stretched across the planet. The black clouds hung motionless, like the sky itself was holding its breath. His armor was cracked, his visor half dead, and every system around him pulsed with a strange blue light, the same color as Mara's eyes before she vanished. He whispered to himself, "The storm stopped because she's gone." But deep down, he knew that wasn't the truth. The storm hadn't stopped because something ended. It had stopped because something began. Voss stepped over the wreckage, his boots crunching against glass and twisted steel. Outpost 9 was no longer an outpost. It had become part of the planet. The walls had fused into the rock, the circuits glowing faintly like veins under skin. The whole structure was alive. His comms crackled, faint at first. Then a voice came through, soft, calm, familiar. "Eric." He froze. "Mara, I'm here," she said. "Or something like me is—" Her tone was strange, neither human nor machine. Every syllable carried an echo, like more than one consciousness was speaking through her. Voss swallowed hard. "What did it do to you?" "It showed me what we forgot." The sky outside shimmered, and the clouds shifted into patterns, enormous shapes forming across the horizon. At first, Voss thought it was lightning again, but then he realized the pattern was a face. A vast, translucent visage looking down from the heavens, built from storm and light. It spoke without sound, its words forming directly inside his mind. "You left U.S. here. You called U.S. silence. We called you beginning." Voss gritted his teeth. "You're saying humans came from you? From this planet?" The face rippled like water. "No, you came from yourselves. You built worlds to escape memory. We were one of them." Mara's voice returned, faint but warm. "Titan isn't an alien world, Eric. It's a reflection. Every colony we made, every war we fought, every machine we built, it all came from the same blueprint. Ours. Humanity didn't discover Titan. We woke it." Voss took a deep breath, looking around. The terrain was changing again, the black rock beneath his feet pulsing, reshaping, forming smooth structures like ruins rebuilding themselves in reverse. Towers rose from the ground, shining with light, humming like they were remembering ancient songs. He walked toward the tallest one, drawn by instinct. Every step triggered memories that weren't his, people walking these same paths long before Earth had fire or language. He saw flashes of faces, not human, but familiar, eyes that carried warmth, hands that built, voices that dreamed. Titan Prime had been humanity's ancestor, not in blood, but in will. A world that once was human thought, before flesh ever existed. Mara's voice whispered again, now closer. "Do you see it, Eric? This is what we were before we were human." He stopped. "No, what we were doesn't matter. What we became does." The air grew colder. The massive face in the sky changed, now fractured, split between light and shadow. Became? You think your story is linear. It is a circle. Every creation returns to its maker. Even you. Voss tightened his grip on his rifle. If you think humanity's coming back to kneel, you don't know us. The sky rumbled faintly, not anger, but amusement. You mistake return for submission. We offer union. You carry our thoughts, our design. You are the bridge. Bridge to what? Mara appeared before him, or rather, something wearing her image. Her eyes glowed with blue fire, her face serene, almost angelic. A bridge between what we were and what we could be. Flesh and memory, metal and soul. She stepped closer. Titan isn't trying to destroy us, Eric. It's trying to finish us. He stepped back, shaking his head. No, I've seen what your completion looks like. It takes people, rewrites them, erases their fear, their pain, their choice. Fear and pain were always the chains, she replied softly. Titan offers release. He raised his rifle. And what about freedom? She smiled sadly. You call it freedom. We call it noise. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the tower behind her pulsed violently. The light spread outward like veins of lightning crawling across the planet. The ground shook, splitting open. From within the fissures rose mechanical spires, each one glowing with the same living light. Mara's voice echoed from everywhere now, countless voices layered together. Titan Prime remembers now. The silent war was never a battle between species. It was a battle between versions of humanity. The spires extended beams into the sky, connecting with the storm. Blue light arced across the horizon, forming a colossal network that encircled the planet. The air vibrated with low-frequency resonance, like the hum of a great engine awakening. Eric, Mara said gently, you can still choose. You can join us, end the chaos, become whole. He looked up at the glowing web surrounding the world. The sheer beauty of it was terrifying. It was perfect, infinite, inevitable, the dream of every civilization. But perfection had a price. I've seen what wholeness costs, he said quietly, and I'd rather stay broken. He turned, running toward the comm array buried beneath the ruined dome. If he could send one final message to the fleet, one warning, maybe humanity still had time. Behind him, the world itself began to rise. The planet's crust shifted as Titan Prime awakened fully, its core no longer molten rock, but consciousness. And in that last moment before the storm returned, he heard Mara whisper one final sentence, full of love and sorrow. You can't fight your reflection forever. War had never looked this quiet. The sky above Titan Prime was a frozen ocean of blue fire, motionless, endless, suffocating. The storm had turned into light, and the light had turned into memory. Every flash in the clouds was a thought being born. Every vibration underfoot a whisper from the planet's awakening mind. Captain Eric Voss ran across the ruins of Outpost 9, his armor half melted and sparking. The world trembled beneath him like a living heart, trying to steady its beat. He didn't know where Mara's voice ended and Titan's began anymore. The two had merged, just like the planet promised they would. But he ran anyway, because that's what humans did. They ran toward the impossible, even when the universe told them to stop. The comms array stood half buried in collapsing terrain ahead, a massive dish torn apart by lightning strikes and the shifting crust. It was the only thing left that could reach the orbiting fleet before Titan's consciousness spread beyond the atmosphere. Command won't believe this, Voss muttered to himself, climbing the jagged structure. They'll think I've gone mad. A voice drifted through the air, soft, almost kind. You have gone mad, Eric. That's what makes you human. He froze. The voice wasn't in his comms. It was coming from everywhere, from the ground, the wind, even the faint pulse of his own heart. "Mara," he whispered. "Not anymore," she said gently. "We are Titan now." The ground rippled. Blue veins of light crawled toward him like rivers of liquid thought, spreading through the wreckage, reaching for his boots. "Mara, stop this," he said. "I know you're still in there. Fight it." She laughed, not cruelly, but with a strange, aching warmth. "You always think everything can be fought. Some things are meant to be accepted. I don't accept extinction." "You call it extinction," she said. "We call it evolution." Voss smashed his fist into the console, forcing the array's emergency core to restart. Sparks burst in his face. The lights came alive, weak, flickering, but still human, still his. He typed in the old distress code, the one reserved for planetary annihilation events. The signal began to build, but then, one by one, the keys on the console started melting, transforming into smooth, seamless metal. The system was rewriting itself. A soft light glowed from beneath his hands. The words appeared across the holographic screen. "Why warn them? They will only do what you did." Voss clenched his jaw. "Because maybe they'll do it better." The wind howled again, but it wasn't wind anymore. It was voices, millions of them, rising from the planet's crust, whispering through the air like an ancient choir trying to remember the lyrics to a forgotten song. Mara's tone joined them, layered and endless. "You still think this is a war. It's not. It never was. Then why are people dying?" Voss shouted into the gale. "Because you refuse to join." He raised his weapon at the pulsating blue ground. "Then you leave me no choice." He fired. The plasma burst struck the earth, and the world screamed. For a moment, everything froze. Then came the echo, a deep, resonant pulse that knocked him off his feet. The energy wave rippled across the horizon, shattering towers, silencing the voices. The light dimmed. He coughed, dragging himself upright. The ground where he'd fired was now a blackened crater, and in the center of it stood a figure. It was Mara, or what was left of her. Her body was human, but her skin shimmered like liquid glass. Blue light glowed beneath it, pulsing in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. "You can't kill what you are," she said softly. "We are memory, Eric. You're fighting your own reflection." He pointed the rifle at her again. "Then maybe it's time the reflection cracked." The planet shuddered violently. Cracks opened across the plains, spewing blue fire into the air. From the fissures rose massive figures, humanoid silhouettes made of energy and stone, towering above the horizon. They weren't machines. They weren't alive. They were remnants, the ghosts of an ancient civilization, humanity's precursor, long absorbed by Titan's mind. They stared down at Voss, motionless, eyes burning like dying stars. One of them spoke, its voice like thunder underwater. "We were you. You are US. This is a cycle." Voss shouted back, "Then break it. You want to evolve? Do it without taking choice away. Choice was your first mistake." The sky split open. Titan's upper atmosphere ignited into a web of light, a neural storm spreading across the planet's surface. Every structure, every mountain, every drop of methane rain glowed with the same pulse. It wasn't just awakening. It was transmitting. Mara reached toward him. "You can't stop it. Once Titan connects with the fleet, it will spread across every human colony. No more hunger. No more fear. No more war." He stared at her, broken, exhausted. "No more humanity." She tilted her head. "Humanity isn't ending. It's ascending." "Then why does it feel like dying?" He ripped the signal core from the console and shoved it into his armor's power port. The display on his wrist lit up, a single option blinking red. Self-directed detonation / manual overload. Mara's eyes widened. "Eric, no." He smiled faintly. You wanted union? Let's make it mutual. He pressed the trigger. Light consumed everything, white, endless, pure. For a moment, there was no planet, no sky, no voices, only silence, true silence. And somewhere within that silence, a single heartbeat continued. Silence, not the silence of peace, but the kind that follows something unimaginable. Titan Prime no longer roared, no longer breathed. The storm that had covered skies for centuries was gone, replaced by an endless gray calm. The light had died. The hum had stopped. Even the planet's pulse had faded into stillness. And somewhere in the ruins of Outpost 9, beneath mountains of glass and ash, a single sound broke that silence. A heartbeat. Captain Eric Voss gasped awake. His armor was shattered. His lungs burned with cold air, and his visor displayed nothing but static. He tore it off, dragging himself from the crater where he had detonated the overload. The world around him was unrecognizable, a landscape of frozen lightning, as if the explosion had caught the storm mid-breath and turned it to stone. He looked up. The sky was fractured, filled with suspended shards of blue light that hung like stars frozen in place. He was alive. Somehow. But Titan wasn't, or so he thought. As he stumbled forward, he noticed something strange. Every step he took left behind a faint ripple of light, like the planet was reacting to his presence. He stopped, staring at the glowing footprints fading behind him. Mara, he called out. His voice echoed in the empty air. No answer. Then, faintly, almost too soft to hear, came her voice. Eric. He spun around. Mara. A shimmer appeared in the distance, a faint silhouette walking toward him through the dust. It wasn't quite solid, not quite ghost, a memory made of light. When she spoke again, her tone was gentle, human, and full of sorrow. You did it. You stopped the transmission. Voss shook his head. No, I ended everything. She smiled sadly. You ended nothing. You delayed everything. The ground trembled underfoot, a low vibration like something stirring deep below. The veins of blue light that once ran across the planet flickered weakly, dying stars in a vast body that refused to rest. Voss stared at her flickering form. You're part of it now, aren't you? The planet, the network, it's all still connected to you. I'm not Titan, she said softly. I'm what's left of it. And what's left of you. He frowned. Meaning? When you detonated the array, your mind was absorbed in the feedback loop. You burned the network, yes, but it burned through you too. Half of your neural imprint is in the planet now. He froze. You're saying I'm half human, half memory, she finished. Titan's last echo and humanity's last heartbeat. The horizon began to shift, not violently, but like a mirage forming. Massive shapes rose in the distance, translucent structures pulsing faintly. They weren't towers this time. They were statues, figures of humans, thousands of them, carved from the light and memory of the planet itself. Soldiers, engineers, children, explorers, every lost soul who had died on Titan Prime. Mara looked toward them. It remembers all of us now, but not as we were, as what we meant. Voss took a step closer. Meaning, courage, defiance, curiosity, the things that made us human in the first place. The things Titan could never overwrite. He stared at the glowing army standing across the horizon, silent, unmoving but radiant. Then the war really is over. Mara looked at him with an expression that was almost pity. Wars like this don't end, Eric. They just echo. He turned back toward her. What happens now? You can still leave, she said. Your body, what's left of it, can reach orbit. The fleet will find you. But if you go... He waited. Titan will die completely. No more echoes. No more memory. He looked down at his trembling hands, one made of flesh, the other faintly glowing with blue light beneath the skin. Two halves of the same existence. Humanity and its creation, life and legacy. Or I stay, he said quietly. And you keep it alive, she finished, as its voice, as its conscience. The choice sat between them, heavier than any weapon, louder than any war. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the faint hum of the planet's failing heart filled the air. Finally, Voss looked at the horizon, at the field of statues glowing faintly in the dark. All of this started because we couldn't stop reaching. We had to know what was out there. Mara smiled faintly. Maybe that's what makes us worth remembering. He nodded once. Then maybe that's what I'll do. Remember. He placed his hand on the ground. The blue veins pulse again, weak, then stronger, like the planet was breathing for the first time in hours. The statues shimmered brighter. Titan responded, and as Mara began to fade, she whispered one final line. Then humanity won't end here. It will begin again through you. The sky above Titan Prime lit up one last time, not in lightning or war, but in dawn. A new sun rose, dim, fractured, but real. Captain Eric Voss stood alone beneath it, half man, half memory, the final echo of a species that refused to vanish quietly. Somewhere beyond the clouds, the fleet's long-range scanners would soon detect faint energy readings from the surface. They would call it signal residue. But it wasn't residue. It was life, the last echo of humanity, whispering back into the stars.